Good morning and welcome to 30-Minute Reviews. I am Adam. I'm tired today. You know what it is? It's anytime you have a lengthy amount of time off. So what we got is, it's like when you have that long weekend. We had a 4-day weekend for the holiday. And it's when you have that 4-day weekend, coming in the Monday after, you're like, I just don't want to fucking do this anymore. Not this, of course. I do enjoy doing this. It's the 9 to 5, drag of it all. But it is what it is. So, what we're here to discuss is The Rock and his recent comments regarding, Black Adam and all of that. And I feel like playing the role of Zack Snyder from here on out will be The Rock. Stoking this part of the base and of the fan base and making him and making things, not as good for DC fans. So it's just designed to stoke division. And don't think we necessarily need that. So, on Thanksgiving, he put up a video that was kind of ranty about, and this started a little before, too, because opening weekend for Black Panther Wakanda Forever, it eclipsed Black Panther's entire theatrical run. And it's like, well, that's a lot of fucking money that it made in one weekend. And IGN pointed that out. IGN in their article was like, for a frame of reference, it has made more money in its opening weekend than Black Adam has in its entire theatrical run. Which is like, look, I mean, it's a fair comparison, considering they're in the same genre, basically. They're both science fiction movies. They both are, They're both in the same sphere. And, to say that DC is not Marvel's biggest competition, in terms of, it being in the same sphere, for lack of a better word to use it again, is accurate. On top of that, even if it wasn't, it was the most recent major theatrical release. It was the last really big movie to come out, was Black Adam. In the same way that if this were to happen, it's not going to, but let's say the universe is ending and everyone's going to see one last movie, they're going to go see Avatar: The Way of Water. If Avatar: The Way of Water made as much money in its opening weekend as Wakanda Forever did in its entire theatrical run, that would have been pointed out, because it's a matter of pointing it out with a frame of reference being the last major movie to make a lot of money. He took offense to this, The Rock, and did a thing calling out IGN for pointing that out, saying that we don't have the brand recognition that Black Panther does, and we don't have the, nobody knew who the Justice Society and Black Adam were. And to which I say, I'm like, look, here's the thing. I feel like Zack Snyder, one of the things that he did that a lot of people did not jive with was belittle other mediums. If it wasn't his movies, it didn't matter. Where it's like he wanted to set the stage for everything else going forward, and it's like, look, if it doesn't quite gel, then that's their fault, not mine. And I'm getting kind of the same vibe from this, because people know who the Justice Society are. I promise you, people know who Hawkman is. Dr. Fate may be a little bit of a harder sell. I totally buy that. Same with Cyclone. Same with Same with Atom Smasher. But the thing is, these characters were all featured on various TV shows in the past that have very loyal fan bases. Justice League Unlimited, Justice League, both on Cartoon Network, the CW shows. Black Adam himself was a lead in Injustice 2 because of his what's it called? Because Shazam got killed in the first Injustice. Spoilers if you haven't played Injustice yet, or seen the memes about what's his name. But the point I'm trying to make is, like, it's a completely unfair statement. And then on top of that, he's acting like it's a small independent movie. Like, he's acting like, you know, if like Gugu Mbatha Raw came out after Fast Color did abysmally at the box office, and granted, it did abysmally at the box office if you look at the total amount of money made, but if you look at, you know, per theater, it didn't do terribly, because it only ran on 30 theaters nationwide. But if Fast Color came out and she said that, I could buy it, because it's a small independent movie with a very limited theatrical release. This was a major theatrical release from a major studio that cost $250 million, and it opened on 4,000 screens. And it's a DC movie by Warner Brothers, and it's you know, they put a lot of money into it. Not even just the casting of The Rock. Like, the ad spend on this movie was ridiculous. Like, I watch football on Sundays, and that is, you know, where I see the majority of my TV ads. You couldn't escape Black Adam in those ads. It had ties to basically every DC property that came before it, with the exception of Wonder Woman. It has ties to Shazam, because it's, you know, you have the Wizard comes back, the same Wizard as Shazam, who gives him his powers, and you know, and the whole thing works the same as Shazam. They don't have to do the narrative groundwork to explain how his powers work because of Shazam. That's one of the saving graces of this movie, is that they don't have to sit there and explain how he gets his powers or anything like that, because you go into it knowing that, because they presume you've seen Shazam. Which the Shazam post-credit scene sets this movie up. The post-credit scene of Shazam is the one where what's it called? They're all hanging out where the wizards are, and they're looking around, and there's one empty chair, and it's kind of like the post-credit scene in what's it called? In the Power Rangers movie, where they're introducing Tommy Oliver, and you know, it's Darla's looking around and she sees the chair and she goes, well, I'm sure whoever he is, he's going to be a great friend. And it's like, that's the end of the movie. And we know it's like, that scene only works if you know who Black Adam is. You bring in Amanda Waller, who led 2 Suicide Squad movies and was a guest star on Peacemaker. You have Jennifer Holland as Hardcore from Peacemaker. Like there's a Task Force X facility. Yeah, I guess I'm confused as to where this claim that, like, nobody, like, this movie could not have been better positioned to get as many people to see it as possible, short of something also tying it to Wonder Woman. Because besides that, everything else is referenced. And Hawkman is not a small unknown character. And how is it that people, and the thing is too, is like, the issue with the movie is fundamentally not that it's no one knows who the characters are. The fundamental issue with the movie is that it's not a good movie. That's where the issue comes in. And for us to look at this and be like, okay, well, you know, I feel like the end is, you know, the box office result is because no one knew who Black Adam was. It's kind of revisionist history to be like, well, if all things were equal, it would have done as well as Black Panther. When, no, number one, there was no scenario where this movie was going to do as well as Black Panther, because Black Panther surprised everyone in breaking $1 billion, mostly on the back of the American box office, doing $700 million. And then, on top of that, you also the death of Chadwick Boseman and all of that. It's the idea, and that's going to be a major player in the box office results of that movie. And the movie's just plain better and more interesting. And even the lore dumps that both movies have to do, they're just better executed in Black Panther than they are in Black Adam. And I think that's the big thing that he's trying to do here. Is he's trying to be like, well, you know, if we were in our second movie, we would have done that much money. And I hate to say it, you probably wouldn't have. If this movie, if all things were equal, and this movie was as good, and the sequel was as good, I don't think you do that. I just don't. And it's not like DC isn't an entity unto itself. Like, that's the thing, is like, if I work at DC, I'm reading these comments and I'm like, the fuck is he talking about? Like, it's this whole thing where it's like the DC marketing plan to get people to see their movies appears to be just this idea of, the actor come out and be like, oh yeah, the movie's great, I don't know why people aren't seeing it, and hope people will fall for it. The issue is Black Adam is just a shitty movie altogether. Like, there are so many things wrong with it. It's like an edgy kid wrote Shazam. I did a whole review of it. Go check it out on what's it called? Beware of spoilers. I saw it the night it came out, and I did a review of it. But so much of this movie is just shit on top of shit. And it's really dumb shit, too. Not even interesting shit, where you're like, alright, well, I'll take a look at this shit, because it could be interesting. No, it's just bad shit. And that's kind of where this movie falls apart for me a little. Like, for me a little bit. And it's why I've had no interest in seeing it in the theater. Like, I have almost seen Black Panther multiple times in theater, but decided against it. The only thing that's holding me back is literal time. Not the fact that the movie's not good, or that I wouldn't enjoy seeing the movie a second time, but it's, do I want to devote 3 hours to sitting in a theater when next month I gotta do almost 4 hours sitting in a theater watching fucking Avatar 2? And the answer is no. But look, I'm just not thrilled about this, where it's like this, these kind of comments are not helpful. Because here's the situation you're in now. The CW is going away. And the CW fan base is not. As evidenced by people harassing Gunn to save Legends of Tomorrow. Because these people who want Legends of Tomorrow saved saw that doing that for the Snyder Cut worked, and now they're doing the same thing. It's still not a great way to go about it. But it is kind of the, what's it called? It's like, well, we saw it worked once. Let's try it again. Hopefully it works this time. And I can kind of buy that thought process. I can kind of understand that. But, like, I'm not... I don't like that. I'm not a fan of that. Like, look, if the show gets renewed, the show gets renewed. But, watching this unfold is you have the biggest name in DC... Second biggest name. I think the biggest name right now is James Gunn. The second biggest name in DC, films, is actively campaigning against portions of the fan base. Because here's the thing. Like Legends of Tomorrow or not, like The Flash or not, like Arrow or not, like Stargirl or not, like Justice League Unlimited or Justice League on Cartoon Network or not, these shows exist. And these shows were, for a lot of people, an entry ramp to DC. Especially the Cartoon Network shows. Especially Justice League Unlimited and Justice League. They were designed, like, they were made to be on-ramps for a new generation who were watching Cartoon Network to be like, oh, cool, DC characters and superheroes. And it worked. Those shows are aged very well. The animation's great, and it's like, if you haven't watched them, go check them out. They're pretty solid. But they're designed to be on-ramps. And Hawkman's a major player. And, Hawkman and Hawkgirl were major players in Season 1 of Legends, and Season 2? Hawkgirl? Maybe? I don't remember. But the point I'm trying to make is, like, these aspects of the fan base are not going to go away. And to have your biggest star right now go out there and just act like it doesn't exist is not helpful to maintaining long-term, fan engagement. The goal should be to be like, okay, so all of these people are involved. All these people are there. And everyone is welcome under the DC umbrella. No matter what part of DC you like, no matter what aspect of it. You like the comics? That's great. And by the way, Black Adam has a pretty major role in the latest Crisis, in Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths. It's just the issue just comes down to the movie you made was not good. Had the movie you made been good, you wouldn't be in the situation, and you wouldn't be stuck with these dumb, like, what's what we're looking for here? Like, just ridiculous ideas that don't quite pan out, and don't quite feel right, and don't quite mesh with the rest of the world. Because you wanted to tell the story you wanted to, which I have no problem with. I have no problem with someone coming in and wanting to do that. But the problem is, you made the conscious decision to include all of these other things. Hell, you marketed the movie on the back of Superman for, for weeks leading up to the movie coming out. Like, and he's in the post-credit tag. And I remember seeing people being like, oh, that post-credit scene was the loudest I've ever seen in a theater. And I've been on record about this, where it's like, that is not the case. That is just a flat-out lie. Because, number one, that theater wasn't near as packed for me. I mean, look, there's got to be some theater somewhere that was as packed for Black Adam as it was for Spider-Man or for Endgame. But, fuck, that theater was not nearly full enough to get the level of response that the 3 Spider-Men got. To get the response that the Portal scene got. To get the response that the, that Val got when she showed up in Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Like, it didn't have that many people. And it's like, you can sit there and be like, oh, that's cool, but and then to sit there and be like, well, Warner Brothers doesn't want him to come back. And it's like, okay, well, I don't, like, and the thing is, too, it's like, when you see the story of, like, what happened, allegedly, that led to Warner Brothers not wanting him to come back, it's like, I don't understand any of that. Because it's like, I don't understand Warner Bros. Wanting to shoot themselves in the foot the way they did. It doesn't make logical sense. Because it's like, they had to have known about the strength of the amount of people in the fan base for Zack Snyder's stuff, or the perceived size of the fan base for Zack Snyder's stuff. But we ended up finding out that a lot of it was bot accounts. But they had to know that. There was no getting around that. But, to sit there and be like, okay, so we want him in Shazam in this one scene, and then for him to be like, alright, well, I want this to count as one of my movies on my contract, which, granted, I don't think, like, Chris Evans did for his cameo in The Dark World, or his cameo in, in Homecoming, but I just don't, I feel like there's definitely a miscommunication here, where it's like, okay, so that happens, so it's like, so now, because he wants that, rather than renegotiating a new contract with him, they're like, fuck him, he's out, and we're not going to recast, and we're just going to leave Superman vacant, and we're just going to, it just doesn't add up to me. And again, it's like, they wanted him out. It's just us against them mentality, and it's like, well, why does everything need to be something like that? Why does everything need to be there's a good guy and a bad guy? It's not a superhero movie. Or in the case of Black Adam, I guess, no, he's a good guy in Black. Like, that's the other problem with Black Adam, is that they say he's an anti-hero because he kills people, but, like, he doesn't kill any, like, an anti-hero is an anti-hero because he does things that are villainous to the good guys. Like, he's not there to, if you get in his way, he's not afraid to kill you. Like, Punisher is an anti-hero. Let's see, who else? Namor is an anti-hero. He's not an anti-hero because he doesn't kill anyone who's not overtly evil. he's just a hero. It's so dumb. It's just, an anti-hero doesn't mean a hero who doesn't want to be a hero, or a hero who's not afraid to kill. Because fucking heck, look at the first Captain America movie. Like, the idea that he is going in and just straight up murdering people. Like, there's a sequence during the montage when he's going into all of the when he's going into all of the Hydra camps, and he's just got shield in one hand, fucking gun in the other, and it's like, we don't look at that and go, oh, he's an anti-hero because he kills people. No, he's just a hero. Like, it's just so dumb, and it's just, like, there are so many things wrong with Black Adam. The marketing being as expansive as it was is not one of those things. The like, people not knowing who Black Adam was, that's not one of the things that was wrong with this movie. Everything wrong with this movie comes down to the content of this movie. And then he points out, like, whoa, we're the number one movie on iTunes. It's like, alright, awesome, great, you're the number one movie on iTunes, have fun. Like, cool. You put the movie out in a surprise release early, because if there's one thing that says your movie is doing well at the box office, it's releasing it that early on digital. Because they're not going to release Black Panther Wakanda Forever after 45 days, I'll tell you that the fuck much. They're not going to, they didn't release, like, Love and Thunder, I think, was the closest to a strict 45-day release calendar, but even that, I don't think it hit Disney Plus until Disney Plus Day in September, and it came out in July. Like, that's the thing. That's where the disconnect is. And I feel like that's something that they need to address, is that they need to have people working for DC who aren't actively undermining other aspects of the fan base, or basically just pretending they don't exist to score cheap points on social media. Because that's what this all comes down to. We'll wrap up there for today. And we'll be back whenever there's more news. So until then, have a great rest of your week.